Everybody, thank you for the lovely introduction. So, as she said, my name is Z'Geneviève Tardieu, and I am very happy to be here with you and share what I've learned from people living in extreme poverty or from excluded people in France. But I'm sure that it's going to be helpful for you, and I'm really counting on the interaction. And so I'm expecting also remarks and insights from yourself, because I know that all of you are very involved in the very same fight against exclusion. Maybe the word poverty is a little weird to you, but we know what we are speaking about. We are speaking about the people who are excluded, who are not part of society, who feel bad about themselves, who never got a chance to have a good training and to have fair opportunities in their life. So whoever, whatever we call them, in the Fourth World Movement, we name these people activists to stress the fact that they are the first one to resist exclusion and poverty, and that they are involved in the fight against poverty. So I have brought here a few pictures from the People's University in Paris. I don't know if you see them well because of the light of the room. Maybe we can turn off the light of the room just for a little while so we could see the... No, it's not going to work for the camera. Okay, so it's just important for me to know that the people I've worked with are here, and I should not forget them, of course. So you see a little bit of the People's University. It's a lively place. People are sharing. They have a sense of friendship and getting together. And so this is what it looks like. This is in the basement in Paris. So it's important for me to show a few of the people. Now I'm going to to start maybe the PowerPoint presentation, because I want to tell you a little bit about the Fourth World Movement, because really the People's University is one of the action of the Fourth World Movement, and I'm going to be brief about that, but really it's important to know what is the setting of the People's University. So the name of my dissertation is the one you can see here, the Fourth World People's University, which is the name of the action. And what I research specifically is a construction of emancipatory knowledge. So of course, I'm going to develop that. Maybe I answer very quickly, very quickly to the question that you asked me, and then you'll see how it will be developed within my presentation. So what is the purpose of learning from people living in poverty? I would say that this is to strengthen democracy. Really, the founder of the Fourth World Movement, Joseph Brzezinski, made a very strong point about that. He discovered and he shared with others the fact that poverty and exclusion is a result of failure of society and a result of failure of democracy. So, of course, whatever goes wrong within the country, system, economic system, political system, the weakest people are the first one to be hit. So that's what is so important. So what do we want to learn, and what is that knowledge? So that knowledge comes from the experience of the poor. They have a very unique experience coming from their daily life, and this is what we want to know. So what is a hidden versus exposed knowledge? So I'm going to show you during the presentation how it's possible to have the people reflect on their life experience. So it's not that easy, but this is a process which I'm going to describe for you. So how do you learn with the people living in poverty and from them? I would say very shortly again, but I would say that this is through interaction, through reciprocal interaction, like going back and forth, meeting with people, building new relationships. Okay, what are the existing methods and tools? So the People's University is one. I'm going to describe it for you. And the obstacles, maybe you know what are the obstacles. There are many, many obstacles. The fear, self-exclusion, lack of esteem. So there are many obstacles also. We'll address that. So what are the stages of learning? I'll go through that also. So this is just to let you know that I really took in consideration your questions, and I'm going to expand on that. So the Fourth World Movement actually is a movement which started 50 years ago in a shanty town close to Paris. And it was a gathering of homeless families from France and from other countries. And they got together because there was a drastic shortage of housing in Paris after the war. So those families came together because at some point someone made them believe that they could be rehoused, but the authorities really didn't want to hear about them. And at some point there were 250 families stuck in a camp, really living under tents, actually tents. And nobody wanted to, I mean, the officials didn't want to see the problem anymore. So Joseph Brzezinski, who happened to be a Catholic priest, but who did not found a Christian movement, really decided to join this shantytown in '57. He was himself originally from a poor background. So right away, he recognized what he calls his people. He felt very comfortable with them, and also he really wanted to fight all the way until they would be recognized as people deserving rights, proper rights, and human rights. So if he really founded an association together with the members of this shanty town, and when everybody else wanted to spread out, get rid of the shanty town and spread out the families and forget about the question, he had just the opposite reaction. He wanted to make sure that the family would stick together and grow together, fight together. One thing very important also in the mind of Father Joseph was to refuse the presence of charity organizations, because in this shantytown there were many charity organizations like Soup Kitchen and giving out clothing and stuff. And for Father Joseph, it was very important to get rid of that. So the people could take responsibility over their life. And what he offered them, it was really an avenue toward culture, and he opened a library for the children, and family center so people could get together. So that was very, very important to him. So Brzezinski really invented the notion of exclusion, as I told you at the beginning, with the idea, promoting the idea that poverty or exclusion is violation of human rights, and this is well recognized now even at the level of the United Nations. He's the one who put forth this notion, and the need for the recognition of a people. And the notion of the people could be discussed, but what he had in mind, it was really to show that the situation was not a result of bad luck, or it was just a few families, but it was really the result of a process, and this process really should be totally changed. So Father Joseph thought that those families had a lot to bring to society, and the knowledge was very, very important. And in the 1968, you might know that there was a big strike in France, and the families were totally cut from the rest of society. There was no more post, and so it was a big, big blow for everybody. So at this point, the families got together and started to speak out. And Father Joseph really encouraged that. So as they were able to write one open letter to the president to let him know about the state of the very poor in Noisy-le-Grand. And the need to be heard, of course, Father Joseph promoted that. So at this point, Father Joseph wanted, he organized information meetings in Paris, and he wanted the people to know about the poor. But very quickly, he realized that it should be the other way around. Like, the people living in poverty should be the one teaching the others. Like, it would be a total reversal of the relationship between teaching and learning. Okay, this is to tell you roughly about the Fourth World Movement. So nowadays, the movement spread out, and very early in the 60s, the movement spread out, and it is now in Europe and in the USA. And it's present now also nowadays in 30 countries in 5 continents. And we have 400 permanent workers, people like Daniel or myself. We call ourselves full-time volunteers, meaning also that we are voluntarily working for the Fourth World Movement, and we are committed to our work. We only have a small stipend, but we belong to the movement because we think it's a very efficient avenue against poverty. We also have supporters, like people like you, who are interested in very much interested in the fight against poverty, but who also keep their work, remain in society, and promote human rights and equality, even for the poorest, wherever they are. And the poor themselves, people living in poverty and exclusion, are also members of the Fourth World Movement. I would say they are the first members, and they are called activists, as I told you. The idea is that 3 different kinds of people could be together in the same fight. Okay, is that okay? Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. So the Fourth World People's University, as I told you, is one of the action. We have action for the children, like street libraries. We have action for the young people, but we have action also within the society to help the people change their mind about exclusion and poverty. And also we have a work geared toward politics officials to make sure that, I mean, we work also on the political level to make sure that the laws that don't hurt the poor even more that, I mean, what it is already, and hopefully to promote and to eradicate poverty. So this is another aspect of the world, but it's of the work, but it's important to know that everything works together. So the Fourth World People's University relies on a network with poor people, with excluded people, and then you need strong relationship with excluded people. So you cannot start from scratch. You need really to have these relationships. And in the Fourth World Movement, we stress a lot the fact of living in poor neighborhood and sharing as much as possible the life of excluded people, and be neighbors, support each other, send the children in the same school, and be as close as possible. I mean, not to pretend that you are poor, but to be as close as possible as poor and excluded people. So the People's University is a gathering of people experiencing the greatest poverty with people from other walks of life. So experiences the greatest poverty, which means that there is no prerequisite to go to the People's University. We don't demand people. We don't want the people to know how to read and write beforehand. Everybody roughly can, I mean, absolutely everybody can come, no matter what he knows already or he doesn't know. And it's a gathering of these people together with other people from other walks of life, other people who are also members of the Fourth World Movement, might be from rich or regular background, I would say, but not poor. And those people who want to learn about poverty and also who are convinced that the fight against poverty cannot be won without the input of the poor. So those people get together every month for about 2 hours. And so this is a regional meeting. It is prepared in beforehand in small groups in different places around Paris, for example. And there is already a big work which is done in the preparation group. Everybody prepare himself or herself to speak about the theme, the topic, which is chosen ahead of time. And an important fact also is that the theme is framed, I mean the issue is framed by people living in poverty, because very often the poor end up repeating what is said about them by other people. And this is, of course, a very poor situation. So this is emancipatory to have other people to ask each other, and especially the poor, how they want to approach one specific subject. Could be, I mean, any topic is relevant. We don't want to, the poor people only to speak about poverty. This is not, it could be a subject, and it's not always a subject, of course, but they are supposed to explain themselves about any topic they want. That could be access to rights, schooling, health, education, could be about philosophical subject like liberty, dignity, or it could be about the media, it could be about politics, whatever. not just poverty. The idea is to know what they think about this very specific subject. So as I told you, the content is prepared in preparation groups ahead of time, and there is a report made by the group leader. We have leaders for each preparation group, and the leader writes faithfully the words of each person. So the regional meeting is a discussion among people from different walks of life, so which means that there are different viewpoints which are crossed, and the discussion merge from different viewpoints. So the invited guest, there is an invited guest, a different person for each session, someone who is specialist of the theme which is discussed, because of course you also need an input, theoretical input, and to bring new knowledge and to have knowledge merging together. I'll tell you how. So the session is taped as today. It's important because we want to keep exactly the word of the people. Each session is transcribed, and there is a faithful account of the meeting, which is disseminated to the members of the People's University. And one point also is that the facilitator and the group leaders have a strong training, because what we want from them is not that easy. So I told you briefly already, the nature of learning at the People's University is really through interactions, through interaction between the members. We'll go over the interaction. One point also very important is that the overall goal of the People's University is emancipation. Is emancipation for everybody, for those who are excluded, but also for those who are from a more wealthy background, because they also need to be emancipated from their preconceived idea, or from the prejudice they might have, or from a tendency to discrimination that they might have in the realm of poverty. So it's important, the goal is not education or teaching, it is emancipation. And so I told you before, this the presentation I'm making right now really comes both from the practice of the People's University. I've been a leader of the People's University in Paris in the last 5 years. And after 5 years, I found that the members, of course the poor at first, had gained an understanding of the process, and they have insight, important insight that they should share with others. And it was also important to them because they know that the People's University is something important, but it's very difficult to speak about. So most of the time they just tell their neighbors or friends, come and you'll see, if you like it, you come again. But otherwise, the interaction which are going on are so difficult to speak about that it's a little frustrating. So we wanted to together to think about that, so to have reflection on action. And this I learned from Don Schoen and also from Professor Rosenfeld, learning from success. So I'm going to speak to you about successes. Maybe it will look a little too rosy, too nice, but I think one learn better from success than from anything else. But it's not to say that People's University, the magic bullet, but I just want to show you how it works when it works. So one important thing during the research was the stress that the members of the People's University put in explaining the conditions under which the First World People's University work. So the three questions for the interview were: what is the People's University for you? What have you learned at the People's University, and how it changed your life? And for the first question, what is People's University for you? Really overwhelmingly, people describe that this is a place where they feel comfortable, where they are never judged, where they feel a lot of recognition and respect and practice of equality. So I was myself struck by the stress that they put on that. But they are absolutely true. And it's in order to start a real dialogue with people, of course you need to build trust. You need to be very clear about the goal of the meeting, which is emancipation, and also about your own intention. When you go to a poor neighborhood and you would like to meet someone, especially someone living in poverty, you need to be very clear about your goal and express yourself, your refusal for the denial of human rights and your refusal for the persistence of poverty. And this is a basic point. You have to make clear that. Then during the session, there should be really equal recognition given to any member of the People's University, whether the people comes from the street and has really little means to express himself or herself. The attention and recognition should be exactly the same as the one you could give to a university teacher, the guest speaker. And this is a very emancipatory setting for the people, because very often there is no other place where they could feel that. Another thing also is to use the strengths of the people and not focus on their flaws, I mean on the difficulty that they have in their life. You don't want to educate people, or you don't want to change the people, but you rather want to tap on their resources, on their hopes, on their strengths. And also you have to believe more in the poor that they believe themselves, because very often they have lost their self-esteem, and so it seems at first they think that they have nothing to contribute to others, that they are not, they think that they believe that they will never ever be able to share something of value with others. So there is another aspect also, which is that you can imagine overcoming fear and anger is important. So building a friendly atmosphere, building friendly relationship. We also have a time of where people can express themselves freely at the beginning, like they can share news if something is difficult for them. If they want to give news from people they love, or whoever, whatever, if they can vent off their emotions before starting speaking, it's very efficient. So, what is the process enabling the learning to take place? The process, actually, I told you, is to help the people reflect on their own experiences. And even that it's not easy, because any situation of life is not necessarily an experience. Like to make sense about something you are living, you need to reflect on it, to put words on it, to give a meaning to it, and to share it with others. So this is already a very strong process. I discovered that through theoretical reading during my research, but also I discovered that through one of the activists told me. He said when I was living out in the woods for 4 years, he said, this man said, but the life was always the same, day after day, day after day, day after day. So his life had no meaning, in a way. There was nothing he could learn from because his life was totally cut from everybody else, and nobody could learn from it. So for him, it was very important to be met by volunteers of the Fourth World Movement, and he was offered to join the People's University. At first, he didn't understand what it was about, but he just felt that he was welcome. He was welcome as a person. And he also explained that we, in the People's University, look at the people as human beings and not as people to be corrected or educated or re-educated. So that was very important, and I was struck to see the cleverness, I mean the intelligence of this person who was able to explain that in very simple words. So again, the activists need to, choose and frame the issue. I told you that before. It's important because you have a way, for instance, when they decided to speak about addiction, which is a very difficult subject because people, of course, you can imagine why. The activists choose to speak about the way they support each other, the way they support people who have addictions. And that was a very, very positive, very important way to start. And of course, we addressed all the difficult issues, but at first, it helped get rid of the guilt, which is very important. After that, the other members of the People's University adjust to the frame of mind, and also they adjust to the way of speaking. The guest speakers, of course, need to use very simple words, maybe images, and needs to be extremely clear in the presentation, and this is emancipatory for him also. So the facilitator helps activists realize that they have experiences, and so also during the research I was given the example by a woman living in a trailer camp next to my place outside of Paris, and the woman was living in the midst of violence because, of course, it's very hard to live in a trailer, but also the families were under eviction. I mean, they were about to be evicted, and of course the Fourth World Movement, apart from that, helped them to fire back the eviction. And also there was a road constructed very near to the trailer camp. So this woman was living in the midst of violence. But she said, before you ask us, before there was a theme of the People's University about violence, we never really thought what was violence for ourselves. We never thought of what it does to us. We never thought of how we react to it, how we try to protect ourselves from it. And that was very emancipatory because most of the time about violence, people would say just what they hear said about violence in the media or by journalists or by other people, by not so well-intended people. So that's extremely important to have people reflect on their experience. So put words on specific aspect of their life and help think for themselves is very important. Okay? All right? So how that can happen? I mean, I wrote here the facilitator creates a learning environment. So the facilitator, the leader of the People's University, has to be inventive, imaginative, and always adjust to the people in the audience and to people in the group. And he has to enhance interaction through many different pedagogical techniques. So anything can be used to to enhance expressions. So as you might have seen, People's University is a very lively place. You can have theater, you can have poems, you can have songs, parties, anything which could reinforce the theme and show the core of the reflection, like for instance about when we discussed about internet and computer, the pedagogy used was very simple but still was powerful. You had people had red labels and green labels, and red labels would be what's bad about it, and green what is good about it. So it helps people think that there are several aspects of one same subject.
Z'nebiev?
Yes.
Could you explain again the difference between the facilitator and the activist?
The activist. Okay. All right. So you have basically poor and non-poor in the People's University, and everything is based on the interaction between the poor and non-poor, and to help that, you have facilitator or leader. That's the same thing. In preparation groups, people who have regular contact with people living in poverty, and everybody goes to the regional meeting once a month, and you have a leader of a big assembly of 100 people. And the facilitator organized the talk, give the floor, ask someone to speak, or ask someone to stop speaking because he has spoken too much already, and ask the guest speaker to speak, sometimes translate what the guest speaker has said because it was too complicated, nobody understood. So this is really what I'm calling enhancing the interaction through the different people and through different pedagogical techniques. Is that maybe a little more clear? No? Yes? Okay. So the facilitator, as I said, adjusts to potential difficulties, and of course, if you deal with people who are illiterate, one obvious thing would be to read aloud whatever is written, or if you have a movie with subtitles, just read them aloud. Those are very simple things, but they should become very natural, so the people who have no formal education feel totally comfortable. And so you need to deal with a huge imbalance of power, of course. You know that because the guest speaker comes with ready-to-use knowledge, and the person living in poverty has to work a lot, to reflect a lot, and to put a lot of effort to bring his experience and give some meaning to his experience. So you need to be aware of that, and of course give priority to the people living in poverty, give them more time, and make sure that they speak first and people react to them. So the goal is really to balance the inequality of power between the people. And I wrote here, giving meaning to knowledge is very important, because very often, and especially in school, for instance, people are exposed to knowledge. They are dumped with knowledge. We want them to learn things, but the knowledge has no real meaning for them. It's not related to the life. It's not something they can use. It's not something which makes sense to them. And the People's University works a lot on giving meaning to knowledge. And when one learns about his or her right to housing, or when he learns about the way to get health insurance or go to a doctor, of course, this kind of knowledge is extremely meaningful, and it's, of course, a lot more easy to get than theoretical knowledge, for instance. So the processes are interaction and reciprocal interaction. So this is very important. The learning should go two ways. And the interaction are not only about learning, but here they are also about bringing about a new individual identity. So let's say someone living in poverty comes for the first time in the room in the People's University and sees people living in poverty express themselves and speak very freely about their situation. If one hears someone said, well, I have the electricity cut in my apartment, or my children have been taken away, or I cannot find work, whatever, if one listens to someone speak very openly and freely about poverty, it helps getting rid of the feeling of guilt and failure. And this is something very important within this process, because the first step is really to get rid of the guilt. So it goes through the interaction. If the poor are listened to, they really feel empowered. If people, they realize they are precious enough to be listened to, and it's very drastic change in their life. For instance, during the research, a woman told me there are many things, many bad things going on in my housing project, but if I report that to the police station, the police officer would just laugh at me. And at the People's University, you care for that. I know that I can speak. I am going to be listened to and supported. So it gives a change in the identity of the people. So it's very important. And so this is important for the individual identity, but also it's important for the collective identity, because it makes people belong to a group which has a very positive identity. The group in itself is geared toward fighting poverty. So this is also a very emancipatory project. So through reciprocal interaction, a new identity is built, and this is a first step of building knowledge. When you ask me this generic question about building knowledge, one step is really getting a new identity. Another process, the next process about learning is really gathering the experience of people. So let's say about exile, you have people in the room coming from different cities in the region, and when we decided to discuss exile, we asked the members of the People's University to interview and invite their neighbors, because very often immigrants are living in the poorest neighborhood. So it gave them a chance to interact with them in where they live. and they could bring their experience and also invite the people. So it was a new set of interaction, and people would give their testimonies about exile, and we could analyze them, compare them, and compare that with the knowledge of the guest speaker. So this is one way of seeing the knowledge, really what is the state of the knowledge regarding immigration for the poor. Another step of the knowledge is even more interesting, is bringing new meaning perspective. So this is a point that you reach where you gain a new awareness. So I'll give you an example. So this is, that was a session about memory of courage. And so the title of the session, of course, implied that the life of the poor is one life of courage. And a woman decided to act out, to share with others, in putting together a small skit, a small play, and she decided to act out the arrest of her son. She went through this very traumatic experience not long ago, and it was very early in the morning. The police officer knocked at the door, and it was to arrest her son. And he had the handcuffs and everything. And worst of all, the police officer didn't want the son to kiss the mother before leaving home. So that was something very hard for her. And I was surprised that this is a very scene that she wanted to share with others. And during the research, she told me why she had chosen that. And she said, well, I really wanted to show that I am a courageous mother, because first of all, that can happen to you as well. That can happen to others. And she wanted more or less to warn the other that it can happen to all. And also, she wanted to show that she went through that and she overcame the situation with help of mainly of her daughter. But the most interesting is that she turned a very traumatic experience, she turned this meaning into an experience of pride. So this is what I'm calling a new meaning perspective. And this is when you reach this point that you gain emancipatory knowledge. So the knowledge stemming from a change of awareness. So the processes of the People's University, the result in a way, there are several kinds of knowledge. Instrumental knowledge, this is a knowledge, the very basic knowledge, like speaking in a microphone or listening to others. But it was very important. I discovered during the research that people spoke at length about how they learn how to listen. That was fascinating. They were used to speak, but listening was a lot more difficult than to speak. So this is good. Writing accounts, I misspelled the word writing, which is funny. Communicational knowledge, with the story I told you, you see that people gain the ability to relate to others, and within the People's University, but also outside. Afterwards, if someone reinforces his or her self-esteem, enables himself or herself to go out and, for instance, speak out with a doctor or with a school teacher, and so it's changed so in some way his life or her life. So this kind of knowledge which is gained. And the emancipatory knowledge is a knowledge which enables you to change your own life or the life of others. So for instance, if there is a People's University about rights for housing, one woman described how rundown was her apartment, and the guest speaker was very knowledgeable about housing rights, and he said, but in France there is a regulation which describes very precisely what is a rundown apartment. And if you can document that, you can go and make pictures, write reports and stuff. You can go to City Hall and demand for your rights, so you become higher on the priority list to have a new apartment. This is just to show you that knowledge can change. I mean, knowledge can change your life and the life of others also, because this session of the People's University also led to an important political fight of the Fourth World Movement, which was to have the rights for housing for all recognized as a law in the country. And this goes beyond the realm of the People's University, but really it stemmed from it. So the product of the People's University is really emancipation of the poor, because they are exposed to new values. I told you before, equality, respect, new knowledge, new recognition. But the last point also is emancipation of the people from other walks of life. For instance, a supporter explained that it was extremely powerful for her to hear activists explaining the denial of their rights. A man explained how his cardiologist, I mean, that was not something that was very important to be treated, of course, but the cardiologist denied his right to health because he had a special insurance for the poor, and the doctor didn't want to put up with that. So this woman at the People's University, this supporter, she said, but that was very striking to me and really reinforced her commitment in the fight against poverty. And she decided to check if her own doctor was accepted or refusing this kind of patient. She found out that her own doctor was refusing them, and so she told him about the situation, and she said, well, I'm not going to see you anymore, I'm going some other place. And she said, well, if everybody was strict enough and strong enough in making sure that the rights of the poor are ensured, I mean, the life would be different. Okay, so I think that's my last slide. So it's just to show you that new relationships, including recognition, equality, dignity, really enable the learning and the learning construction of emancipatory knowledge. But at the same time, during this process of building knowledge, during the construction of emancipatory knowledge, you also have the new relationship builds. As I just told you, the reinforcement of commitment or social transformations.